Hello everyone, happy Sunday. I hope you guys are doing good and you had a nice weekend. I'm gonna play this hard Clues by Sam today, and if you're new here, Clues by Sam is a daily puzzle that changes in difficulty along the week. So today we have a hard one, and in it there are 20 people. You have to figure out who is a criminal and who is an innocent, and each person might give you a clue to help you with that. And nobody lies, there's no guessing involved, so I'm gonna explain my logic as I play, so if you want to follow along and maybe play with me, the link is in the description. It is free, and let's hope this is an all green one for today. I'm needing that. Let's start. With Austin telling us that only one of the two criminals neighboring Zach is in column C. So Zach has two people neighboring him in column C, and only one of those two is a criminal, right? And there's one more criminal neighboring Zach. Zach has only one more neighbor, Sam, so Sam has to be the other criminal. Now, because we tagged Rob and Will with the yellow clue, with the yellow tags, we know that they are going to be opposite. So whatever one yellow is, the other yellow will not be. So we can dismiss Austin's clue by clicking on it and look at Sam's, saying that Petra is one of Kyle's 5 criminal neighbors. So we know that Petra is a criminal. And we don't dismiss Sam's clue yet because it's telling us the total for Kyle of criminals neighboring him. So it might be useful later. We leave that there and look at Petra's clue. And that number of instances in column C neighbor Sam. So Sam shares Rob and Will as neighbors with Zach, and we already know that one of them is going to be an innocent, and Sam has one more neighbor in column C who is Max. Now, Max couldn't be an innocent because if they were, we would have two innocents in column C neighboring Sam, and that's an even number. So we need Max to be an odd number. We need Max to be a criminal so that Sam has an odd number of people who are innocents neighboring him in column C. And now Petra's clue doesn't tell us any new information, so we dismiss it. Max now tells us that Chola is one of two innocents in column C. So Chola is an innocent, and we already know that there's one innocent here in column C neighboring Zach. So that is going to be the second instance, and that's our total there. So we know that Habiba, the only other person left in column C, is not an instance, and we get two new people with that clue. Chola now says there are 8 instances total in the whole board, so 20 people, 8 innocents, which means that 12 criminals, all the math. Abiba says that all instances in column A are connected, so we know that if we have that's interesting because Kyle has 3 people neighboring him in column A, right? Kyle so far has 3 criminal neighbors. He needs 2 more to make the total 5 that Sam told us he has. So if those 2 were Flora and Julie, then that would force Olga to be an innocent, and we would have 2 innocents in column A who are not connected. Now, it could be that one of the criminals is Gabe. But in that case, if Gabe is one of the criminals, the other one couldn't be Flora anyway, because that would force Julie and Olga to be innocents, and we would still have innocents that are not connected in column A. So we know that Flora at least has to be an innocent neighboring Kyle here in column A, and we could have either both Julie and Olga be criminals neighboring Kyle, or Olga and Gabe. We don't know about Julie yet though, so we can't infer from the information we have that she is an innocent. Now look at Flora's clue. Ivan is one of Max's 3 innocent neighbors. So Ivan is an innocent, and when I double click the clue like this, it like highlights the people it's talking about, and it has become kind of a habit. So sometimes the clue doesn't mention anyone, like Chola's clue here, and I double click it anyway so that I can see that it like maybe highlights something, but it doesn't. But it's just a tick, so don't worry about it. And the clue also tells us that Max has 3 innocent neighbors total. So Max so far only has 1, and we don't know about any possible others. We just know that there has to be 2 more. So we're gonna leave that clue there. Ivan says that an odd number of instances in column B neighbor Flora. So where's Flora? Flora has 3 people neighboring her in column B. And either three of them could be innocents, that would be an odd number, so all of them, or just one. If all three of them were innocents, what would happen to our total innocents on the whole board? We would have 3, 6, 7, and 8 with Rob or Will here. And that is okay for both Kyle, because Kyle could have Julie and Olga be criminals here, and his total would be fine. Or is it Max? Because Max has 3 innocents. Yeah, so Noah and Rob would be criminals because of Max, which would make Kyle need one more innocent here in column A, right? And that would break because yeah, so it wouldn't work for Kyle actually, because if both Julie and Olga were criminals, then Rob would be an innocent, and we would have more innocents than we should on the board anyway. So it doesn't work for Flora to have all 3 people that neighbor her in column B be an innocent. So we know that Flora has only one innocent neighboring her in column B, and that helps us exactly how. Can we like maybe try to make Gabe an innocent? And if we do, does that affect anything? I don't think so. I mean, that's one of Max's innocent neighbors. And it could be Kyle, but what if both remaining innocent neighbors for Max were Noah and Rob? What will happen then? Then Betty would have to be an innocent. So that Max doesn't end up with more innocents than they should. And that would force Gabe and Kyle to be both criminals. So now Kyle has one more criminal here, which makes Julie an innocent. Right? In that case, it makes Julie an innocent because all innocents in column A have to be connected. So Olga would have to be the criminal. In that case, how many innocents do we have? We have 3 here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's our 8 innocents. That's okay. So we're looking at Uma, Vera, Will and Zach, and Eve all being criminals. So that's one thing in this scenario. Let me try the other thing I was talking about. Actually, yeah. Let me try the other thing I was talking about. We know that Petra has 5 criminal neighbors. No, Kyle has 5 criminal neighbors. Okay. I read that at a glance and I just thought I was wrong about it. So let's try to go back to what I was trying. So I'm gonna use pea shooters strategy here and use the upper tags to test my second scenario. So let me make Kyle, actually let me make Gabe an innocent. That would force both Betty and Kyle to be criminals in this scenario. And now Kyle still needs 2 criminals. But Max only needs 1 innocent. I'm trying to decide who's the most optimal person for me to look at, because it has to be somebody that affects both Kyle and Max. So either Gabe or Rob. It doesn't seem like Gabe is that promising, because then I have to think about Julie and Olga. So I'm gonna try to make Rob, in this case he's an innocent, let me try to make him a criminal, which would force Will to be an innocent. Well, not the lower tags, the upper tags. An innocent. And why is that important? Because that means one less innocent for our 8 innocents total, right? In this case, Rob being a criminal. We couldn't make Noah a criminal as well, because then we would have 2 innocents here in column B, and we know that Flora has only 1 innocent neighboring her in column B. So Noah would have to be a criminal in this scenario as well. An innocent, sorry. So that we don't have 2 innocents here. And that would make Gabe and Kyle opposites. Why is Kyle tagged as criminal? Now the thing is, Kyle has 1 more criminal neighbor only. Maybe I try to disprove Noah being a criminal ever. Cause that sounds like it. But let me try to finish this scenario, like making Kyle an innocent would make Gabe a criminal. And Betty a criminal because Flora has only 1 innocent. Now, Julie would have to be an innocent again. And Olga would have to be a criminal for Kyle. Now Gabe is a criminal, so... this is getting me more confused. So many tags. So let me go back and go along what I have already. Rob's a criminal, which makes Will an innocent. And because of that, also Noah has to be an innocent. Now we're trying to make Kyle an innocent because Max has to have 3 innocents. So 1, 2, 3. And Kyle being an innocent makes Flora have all of her innocents in column B, so Gabe and Betty are both criminals. Now Kyle has 4 criminals neighboring him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's his 5. So that's why Julie and Olga are both innocents. So that works. In any case, I think I could solve this with math, actually. Because I could, like, intersect the groups between Kyle and Max of innocents and criminals. But I'm not good at that. So I'm better at simulating scenarios. Now, how many innocents do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Way too many innocents. So I have intel from trying this out. Even though it works for both for Max and for Kyle, it doesn't work for Chola. But I'm a triple check that it does work for Max and Kyle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. So Max has 3 innocents, as said by Flora, Ivan, Noah, and Kyle. Kyle has 5 criminals, as said by Sam, Gabe, Biba, Max, Rob, and Petra. Non-number of innocents in column B neighbor Flora, that's Kyle. But there are not 8 innocents in total. If Rob is a criminal. But this is with Kyle being innocent. What if Gabe is an innocent? It doesn't really change the total because now Olga is a criminal, but we still have Will being above our total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It does work. It's interesting. Yeah, because now Yeah, the intersection I mentioned. So if Max and Kyle intersect their instant group, then it works, with Rob being a criminal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it does work. So my next course of action is trying to make Noah a criminal. And if I do that, we just saw that Rob couldn't be the second criminal that we need for Max, because that would give Flora too many innocents, so Rob would have to be the innocent in this scenario. Now Will is a criminal. In any case, Max will need either Gabe or Kyle to be an innocent, so Betty would be a criminal too. Now, can we make Kyle an innocent here? I think maybe Julie is the final thing, but we go for that after Noah's. So Kyle being innocent makes Gabe a criminal as well. Now that's Kyle's 5 criminal neighbors, is it? Gabe, Habiba, Max, Petra, and Rob. So that's 5. 1, 2, 3. No, Rob's an innocent in this scenario. I'm looking at the lower text. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We would need Olga to be a criminal. I guess what we do know is that Uma, Vera, and Zach and Eve may always be criminals. How many instances do we have now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's perfectly fine. And if Gabe is an innocent, then that's 8. So it doesn't really matter if Noah is an innocent or a criminal. What about Julie though? Can I make Julie a criminal? And if I make Julie a criminal, then Olga has to be a criminal? Because there couldn't be any instance now in column A below her. They wouldn't be connected to the other instance. That's Kyle's 5. So Rob and Gabe would be innocents. And that's Max's 3 innocent neighbors. So Kyle and Noah will be criminals. And because Flora already has 1 innocent here in column B, Betty will be a criminal as well. Now, how many instances do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we do have space for 2 more. So it is in Julie. And it actually works better for Kyle and Max. I'm so confused. Are you seeing it before me? Can I try to rule out Uma and Vera? I mean, I can rule out Uma for sure, I guess, because if Uma is an innocent, then both Olga and Julie have to be innocents. And then Gabe and Rob would have to be criminals for Kyle, and we would have so many innocents. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Max still needs 2 more, so that would end up giving us 10 innocents. So Uma is a criminal, and we get a new clue. So we look at that. Only one of the 8 criminals on the edges is below Habiba, and that's not Max, because Max is not on the edge, even though they are a criminal and they are below Habiba. They are not on the edge. So we need Will, who is the only person on the edge below Habiba, to be a criminal. Rob will then be an innocent. And now we also get from that clue the total criminals on the edges, which is important. Because 8 criminals on the edges Wow, we only have three so far. Sam, Will, and Uma. Shows us that we'd have to have five more. Five more. And how many people do we have left on the edges who could be criminals? We have Julie, Olga, Vera and Zach, that's four. Noah, Eve, and Betty, that's seven. So only two more innocents are on the edges. And if only two more innocents are on the edges, let's say that those two are Julie and Olga. That, first of all, couldn't happen because Bob is already an innocent and Kyle still needs two criminals. Could both of those criminals be Julie and Olga? And if they were, Gabe would be an innocent and that would force Betty and Kyle to be criminals because of Flora. Noah will be a criminal because of Max already having their three innocents. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 criminals on the edges. So that works. That works. Can I ever make Betty an innocent? Because if I do, both Gabe and Kyle will be criminals, right? So Flora has an odd number. Noah will then be an innocent for Max. And either Julie or Olga will be an innocent here for Kyle. And we would have too many innocents on the edges, right? Because we can only have two more. So let's say it's Julie. Oh, we couldn't be Julie and Olga because the innocents have to be connected. So Julie and Olga would be like that. Julie an innocent, Olga a criminal. But now how many criminals do we have on the edges? We have Olga, Uma, Will. And Sam, that's 4. 5, 6, 7. Total possible criminals on the edges. And that's less than the 8 we know there are. So Betty has to be a criminal, which makes Gabe and Kyle opposite, so we tag them. Vera is one of Rob's 7 criminal neighbors, so Rob has 8 neighbors total and only 1 innocent. Vera is a criminal, and she says there are more innocents in row 2 than row 3. So far there's 2 innocents in row 2. Is there a way that there could be only 1 innocent in row 3? If Gabe is a criminal, that will make Kyle an innocent, so that's our top innocents for row 3. So that would force both Noah and Julie to be criminals, and now Max has her total innocents, Rob, Ivan, and Kyle. But now Olga is separate. Olga has to be an innocent because of Kyle, but she's separate from the other innocents in column A, so that doesn't work. Gabe has to be an innocent then, which makes Kyle a criminal. And now Max's 3 innocent neighbors are revealed, so Noah has to be a criminal. Kyle still needs 2 criminals, because so far he only has 3. So both Julie and Olga are criminals. And that's our total criminals on the edges. We have 5 here and 3. So both Eve and Zach are innocents. Okay, that was very nice. It took me a long time. Oh my god, it took me a long time. But I'm pretty proud of myself there. I don't think it was necessarily that hard, but it could be, if you're too eager to get to the answer, you might get some yellow ones there because you don't really exercise the scenarios. And about yesterday, yeah, I was kind of flustered because I got home so hungry, but I was determined to record the session before I ate, and I ended up doing all that. Don't do all that. Don't do puzzling hungry, children. Okay, guys. Yeah, I really like it. I'm gonna leave you here for today. I hope you have a good start of your week this Monday. It's Brazil game day for the World Cup. So let's see how that goes. And I don't really care about soccer slash football. I'm aware of what's happening in the world. And don't forget to play my game if you haven't. It is hard, so I understand if you want to play it in a day where there's an easier daily Clues by Sam. But I'm looking forward to your feedback and see you tomorrow. Sorry about that. See you tomorrow for more Clues by Sam. Bye bye.